Hi everybody, Mature Simmer. So welcome back here to Riverview Farms, the VIP series. So what I am doing here is I am trying to fulfill orders from the VIP order manager. We're here at level 17 right now, and I've got 2 orders left. I've got lettuce and wood that need to be dealt with. So I'm going to start working on wood and going to get that done. Now, I don't like working on wood. So I do what I need to get wood, but I probably don't do what logging people like to get wood. So I don't use machines. I use super strength to move things around and get things onto the trailer. So I'm going to do that. I've been using the opportunity when I've needed wood for the VIPs to get these fields cleared up. This is really the last tree here that keeps me from having, in essence, one continuous field here, which is what I did here when I just had corn. I'm going to be doing the same thing with barley, where the entire farm is going to be planted in barley. So I'm going to start with this tree, and then I think I'm going to go start taking out those pines that are over there by the entrance, and I think that will help. Hopefully that'll get me the 39,000 liters of wood I need, but we'll see where we stand. So I'm going to get going on that, and I'll see you in a bit. Alright, I'm thinking this won't quite be enough. I've got 4 of these trees here. Problem is, these pines are not all the nice, easy ones to cut. They're not terrible, but they're not as good, so you can see 3 of the 4 that are still over there are the less desirable ones. So the first tree netted me about 10,000 liters, but that was with a big trunk that I had left from before, if you remember. I had been running close, and I knew, oh, I'll need wood later, so I had set a tree aside, if you remember, and so with that, I had about 10,000 liters, so I think I'm down to like 29,000 liters left. I'd be very surprised if this gets me the entire 29,000 liters that I need. But at least this is going to give me an idea, because I know I have 4 trees here. Now, I've heard various people give various theories, I guess is probably the best way to put it, that it really doesn't matter the type of tree, that trees in Farming Simulator are the same as far as what they give you. They're really not, they don't vary that much. So in theory, those different pines aren't really going to be a big difference. You can just see like the log on top over to the right a little bit. It's just not ramrod straight. It's a little bit janky in how it lays and so forth. So, but they're about the same height, but they have this mixture, as you can see, and like here, they're all that kind of, you know, I don't even know what kind. I just know it's like out west in the US, this is the kind of trees you'll see. They're almost like high elevation pines or something, where they grow a little bit more scraggly. I'm sure they're a different kind. I want to say Douglas fir, but I don't think that's right. So let's see where we sit. Whoops. Don't want to go too far, so I know I need to unstrap it. I do know that. And then we basically go sell it. Alright, so we're down to 10,045. So I went from 39,000, I've done 28, so basically that was 18,000. So 2 trees. This is going to get me really close. It might get me there, but it likely won't, is going to be the problem. But let me head back and try to get that resolved, and hopefully we can at least get the wood done before the day gets wrapped up. And so in the end, even though we've spanned this over 3 episodes, this has been a pretty good day. I mean, we finished level 16 today. We got a bunch of orders done for level 17 last episode, and now we're getting yet another, and this has all happened in the month of March. So the good news is my preparation and staggering has worked pretty well. I mean, I could have cut trees earlier, I suppose. Planks we're in great shape for. We need 29,000 liters of planks. Before I brought any of that wood in there, we already had 74,000 liters of planks, and that's not counting the 2,000 that's sitting out at the loading dock already. So we are overflowing with planks, and we see what we need through level 20, which is when we're going to call this series done, is once I complete level 20, and then that will give us some visibility all the way up to, honestly, level 25, because once I finish level 20, it shows us 4 at a time. We're going to see 21, 22, 23, I guess 24, I'm sorry. I'm half tempted to go somewhere and get the better trees, but it's also nice to kind of have this cleared up and not have to worry about it. So, oh, and I've got one laying there too. I missed a piece. Sometimes that happens. So, this one looks like it might have some branches on it still. No, it doesn't, but it's probably, I mean, you can see it's just 247 kilograms, so it's not a heavy tree by any stretch of the imagination. So my guess is it's not as many liters as I would think, but maybe that'll just be enough. But I'm going to take the 3 scraggly ones down just to be good. That should give me more than enough. So we'll see in a little bit. Alright, I'm quite comfortable that we're going to have enough with this. I would be very surprised if we're not, because I do think I've seen about 3,000 to 4,000 per tree at a minimum for the pine tree type trees. So even if the kind of thinner ones or the less ramrod straight pines are a little less productive, I would think they'd still, you know, be at the point where I should be getting 3,500 liters. So I would hope I'm getting at least 10 or 11,000 liters, and we're really not going to be able to see specifically because it doesn't always report exactly what we're getting. If we were getting paid, I think it would show us the amount, but since it's just going into our sawmill, the only way we see it is what the VIP order is reporting. But what I'm hoping for is that we have a green result when we get there. Alright, so here we are. Again, let me just slow this down. Whoops. Let this go. We'll have some things fall, but as long as they're on the ground in the right location. And there we go. We're green on the wood. So we have met our demand. And we can kind of get a ballpark of what we delivered here. So you can see 39,638. Now the sawmill's been running since I've been cutting things. So we probably had 41,000. But the good news is that that likely means we didn't oversupply substantially. And it doesn't specifically matter other than this wood chip order, but I'm going to have to find something else to supply wood chips, because if you look at this, like I'm storing the wood chips right now. I decided to try that with this production. I've created 36 liters of wood chips. At that rate, to get 109,000 liters, because I'm basically for every, I think it was 3 liters, yeah, every 3 liters of wood, I get 4 liters of planks and 0.15. Yeah, if you can do the math of 0.15 liters per 3 liters of wood and figure out what I need to get 109,000 liters of wood chips, it's not going to be pleasant. So I think I've seen various wood chip mods out on ModHub. So that's going to be something I'm going to look at between here and level 20. I'll probably look at it soon, because once again, depending on the production pace that it takes to process those, it may take a while. Now, I think I've seen some that go very, very quickly, that in essence are exactly that kind of thing as you'd expect, that they're just a chipper, and they take the tree and turn it into wood chips. That's how I used to log in FS19. I had a little wood chipper, and instead of trying to cart logs like this, I would just chop everything into wood chips because the cost at the sale point was the same if I chipped the tree or if it was solid. So there was just really not a reason. Plus, I also didn't really care that much what I was making. I was more clearing space for farm fields. So that was the thing. But looks a little bit different, although it's surprising how that one remaining tree still just kind of doesn't make you feel like you've got this wide open view. So that's probably going to be the first one to go when we're working on wood chips. But then as we go up here, now again, I may be a little false. Yeah, there's definitely the mix of pines there too. Because I'm like, I have that hillside, but none of that is as clean as I would have thought. It looks like kind of up at the top rim, it's a little better, but I don't know that I own those, and I think that might turn into its own little problem. My bigger issue, speaking of its own little problem, I've got one pallet of lettuce, and that's been kind of working all day long. Lettuce is going to take some time here, but that's again why we're going to then just do what we can to have everything ready to go for all the other levels, so that all I'm then doing at the end is just waiting for the greenhouses to give me what I need and deliver things. Because as we talked about, I have a greenhouse order at every level. So these greenhouses are going to be the thing that keep me from progressing as they are right now. I need 41,000 liters of lettuce. I just have 500. You know, now we're waiting. I'm pretty sure I have straw. The other thing that I'm monitoring, I need 464 liters of slurry. I still have 50,000 liters of food. I'm probably going to monitor this into the morning. But at this point, like, we were able to blow through level 17 very quickly. We'll be able to do the majority of that as well. Let's check on this canola oil. Okay, so again, 9,000 is stored. That does not include the oil that is out. I am fairly certain that there's more than 4,000 liters here. Oh, there's just 4,000 liters. But okay, so we produced exactly what we needed, which makes sense now that I look at it, because I've got 42,000 liters of canola sitting there in case I need more. So I have exactly the canola oil I need. We're working on the slurry. We have plenty of milk. Tomatoes are going to come out of the greenhouse. I already told you. We've got 74,000 liters of planks against the need of 24,000, and we talked about the cheese. I'm just going to have to get some more milk over there. So honey is being produced. That's something that might take a bit of time, and then we're going to have to do something to get ourselves some flour, because we have emptied out the flour. So there's probably some crops that we're going to have to grow as we wait. So there's things still to do. We're not just at the point where we're just waiting for our greenhouses, but we are getting quite close to that point. Yeah, and at this point they are running, but the challenge is with greenhouses, you're talking about 2 water for every lettuce. It's fewer cycles per month. So I think we're just producing 768 liters out of each greenhouse every month, which is crazy. So to get the amount we need, it's going to take a long time. Welcome back to a beautiful spring morning. We've got some deer wandering around here near our greenhouses, just checking out the farm. Definitely they're having a bit of fun frolicking around. You can see 2,000 liters of lettuce, so slow progress, but nothing too great. So I spent a bit of time stacking up my pallets of honey here. That one's leaning up, so let's clean that up. So I need 15,000 liters of honey in total. I have 5,600 here, so I'm basically a third of the way there. I don't need this honey until level 20, so I've got time. But it takes a while for the bees. Now we're getting into prime season for them right now. They definitely produce less in the winter, which would make sense. But we're waiting for the lettuce, and I'm just trying to determine what I can do, if anything, to keep making some progress. So this morning what we're going to do is we're going to haul over some milk to the dairy. So I'm going to just drop this down. This is kind of my go-to. So I'm going to drop that off. This is my go-to tractor, just when I know I need some pulling power. So I need 8,850 liters of milk, or thereabouts, to just be sure that I'm going to be in good shape. I'm going to actually go around this way because the milk tanker's facing this way for me to come around, so rather than have to do like a 3-point turn over there and turn around, I can just back up and connect to this and then start taking some milk. I need 69,000 liters of milk later as well, but the cows are still producing. So let me get this. Whoops, I'm not in the right spot yet, but should have a trigger point at some point. Come on, there we go. So we're going to have to take a couple trips to the dairy. We've hit our 464,000 liters of slurry, so yeah, I'm going to guess the capacity on the barn is 500,000 for that. Milk looks like maybe we're going to be at 325. Don't know that we're going to get quite that far. We may fill up. There's not really a way to get the cows to stop producing. Like right now I have what I need. Once again, we need 13,000 liters of cheese, so that's the more urgent need right now. Everything else we've got, other than, again, the greenhouse items that I talked about. And then what I'll probably start taking a look at here is what my options are for wood chips. Alright, so typical. Been away for a bit, and then I did some stuff and thought I was recording and wasn't. So I found a wood chipper, cost me 25,000. Any kind of production like that we need to own somewhere, so I went ahead, placed it here on the farm. I just brought over 3 trees. It turned them into 30,000 liters of wood chips quite quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and keep doing this work for this location and try to get this taken care of and get myself my 109,000 liters of wood. But I took out 3 trees around the edges of the field, just 3 pines. We'll see what else I need to do to get this done. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I've taken the opportunity to clear things up around a little bit. Obviously took the trees out around the wood chipper so that didn't look so crazy. And we've got that all done, but you can see we have 110,000 liters of wood chips now. We need 109,000. So we're in excellent shape there. Took a couple trees out by the cow pasture there too, so that if I have to mow grass in the future, I can do that. But that's a nice little thing to know about, because that can be useful in a lot of things, if nothing else, to just get rid of trees. Because you can do it nice and quick. Just get the trees over there and everything is good. So I'm gonna get this back over to the location here. We need the bees to be doing their thing. They're at 207 liters there. So it's gonna take some time. I think the next thing I'm gonna do, because really at this point the only thing that I can do something about, that I have space for, is really the barley, indirectly, because we just took care of this. Again, this will be greenhouse. Honey's working, so I'm doing everything I can there. I should have plenty of time, I'm imagining, by the time the greenhouses produce all the stuff that I need. Ahead of that, I'm sure that's going to be years, so I'm pretty sure I'll have enough honey. But then, if I plant barley, I can also create flour from barley. So rather than go ahead, say, and plant oats now, and then turn that into flour, it's probably more efficient for me to go ahead and grow the barley, and if I get more than 152,000 liters of barley, I can then go ahead and just go and get that taken care of. So that brings us to the next thing that I have found, but I have been waiting for some time because I knew I'd have to plant something, but you guys know how much of a challenge this has been with this planter. So it is empty, as we can see, but I'm going to go ahead and sell this thing. So I'm going to get 8,142 pounds for that. Not bad after all the use I got out of it. And you're probably like, but wait, what are you going to do? So since this series started, you know, I had this Fernland as a mod that I was using because it was something inexpensive that I could deal with. This Case Concord, IH Concord Air Drill System mod was released. So instead of being 3 meters with 2,000 liters, we're going to have 3 times the width, a little bit slower speed. We're going to have then a capacity of 11,220, so we're going to have over 5 times the capacity. Yes, it's a lot of money, but this is the benefit of having the VIPs giving us these bonuses, because we can now not have to work in a very inefficient way. So I'm going to go ahead and pick these 2 up, get them going, and we're going to start planting. Alright, so I have got my new seeding configuration here, and I'm pretty excited. Not sure if we're dragging along there. I think we'll be okay. I am wondering, however, I didn't check the horsepower requirements. Yeah, it's 144 horsepower, so it should be okay. But I am going to plant the entire farm, not the grass fields, but, you know, all the fields that I've been using as arable fields. So all 5 or 4 of these, and then the large one. And I'm going to plant it all in barley. And so I'm going to try this too, because I have also created one large custom field, which is just by default named CP1. If I was going to have this series go on, maybe I would do something different. But that was also part of why I wanted to get rid of that tree, because at this point I think I'm clear enough that I can do this. So I am going to pick the field. There we go. Now we see that is there. So, you know, there's going to be areas that obviously aren't set up appropriately, but I'm going to go ahead and do 3 headlands. Alright, so it's telling me 9.14 meters. My confusion is when I went ahead, it's telling me it's 8 something, so I need to make that size. And I'm going to go ahead and make it smooth because it's not going to be able to back up appropriately. Alright, and it looks like it has a plan, because with it being that long, I want to give it enough headland room. So we're going to go ahead, let it do its thing. Not quite sure where it's going to think it's at, but this should be a pretty good and a pretty efficient way. But see, that tree was like right there, right at that corner. And so even what it's doing right now, it would have hit the tree. Alright, so it's opening up, so I'm assuming it is going to take off here shortly. Whoops. Let me stop this. I need to plant barley. I have the wrong thing on. I have wheat on. I want barley. Okay, so it's going to cycle its way back around because we weren't quite where we needed to be. Not sure this is really going to work the way I would like it to work. But we'll find out. So there we go. Barley on loamy sand. hold on, I have something else messed up here. Whenever you regenerate the course, it's always a little bit different. This is still not working the way I would think it should be. But I guess I'm gonna let it do its thing. And we'll see what it turns into. I may have to touch some things up, because I think we're gonna have some challenges. You're right, I don't have access to that land. Why? Because if I look at this, like, it's correct, but it is just lost as to what it should be doing. Well, this is disappointing. I mean, I can plant it manually if I need to, but I would prefer not to. And I wonder if it's because it, like, overlays other courses, but, I mean, in theory, the course is here, and it's laid out, and it... because it was heading to where it needed to start. So I'm gonna try... like, this is a good experiment, I guess. I'm gonna try to basically get on the path I think I need to be, so I'm gonna leave this up. And I'm gonna see if I, you know, maybe I then do nearest. So, let me undo that. And then it should go here. So I'm going to need to lower it, and I'm going to need to run it through there again because it's kind of running the smooth version. It might not plant at the level I want, and now if I do this, let's see what it does. If it's on nearest... Right, well, it also looks like what it thought it was doing as far as width is accurate, the 1.4. See, because it's like, it like messes itself up. So I will go back to the 8.4 it thought it was. Alright, so this went around here. This is where I was starting before, where it then went diagonally. So I also don't understand, but let me see. Because at this point it should just go, and we'll see if it follows it as it should, because yeah, if I don't get every little bit of the field, I'm okay with that, because I have enough space here, or enough of the fields that I think it'll be okay, but trying to have it back up and do whatever it would need to here just doesn't seem like a realistic method of getting this completed. Good news is this looks like it's working. And again, it's supposed to be 144 horsepower. I have a 205 horsepower tractor. So this, in theory, is more than enough. Good news is, as you can see on the precision farming map, everything's working as it should. So yeah, we're definitely losing a larger portion than one would think, just because of how this is set up. But I think we're going to get the majority of what we need. But it's interesting that it says it's a 9.1 meter working width, but Courseplay thought it was 8.4. I mean, either way, it's still significantly larger than what we had. And so this should go along at a much faster clip. I obviously had the edge of my drawn field a little bit off, so we're going to leave a little bit there, but that's okay. I mean, the key is obviously the big field with 42, but you know, we'll see how everything plays out, because this may, it's actually probably not, yeah, it won't be any different, honestly, because that's what we pulled through already. So maybe it was okay with the 9.1. It's hard to tell with what it's doing. But got a little bit of that there. Hopefully here we're going to be far enough away that when it comes around it's going to be able to turn appropriately. I'm just curious how this will all play out. But hopefully this will plant pretty cleanly. And so yeah, missing the edges of the field, I did kind of forget, it's a hand-drawn border by me. So if I was off a little bit, which clearly I was in some cases, this is the result we get. But this is still a much more efficient way to do this than me driving around and getting every last little bit. And I don't know that we're going to have that much that is left, but we should hopefully easily have 152,000. And once again, the goal here isn't maximizing every last inch of what we have, it's getting ourselves complete with the VIP orders and so forth as we go on. So you can see we're getting up, and this is typical. The first headland ends up being close to 20% of the waypoints for something, and then obviously it'll get a little bit less each time as we go along. But you know, it should be at 330. It's not going to be there. It's going to be a little bit shorter, but it's not uncommon if I do 3 or 4 headlands in a lot of cases to be at a point where we have 40 or 50% of the field in theory, or at least the waypoints visited. Alright, but the seeds are really flowing out of here. That is crazy. So I'll be able to basically leave the planter on the field is what I think I'll be doing, and just take the seed canister over. Actually, I'm sorry, that's fertilizer, but still. I think that's just obviously somewhat a result of what I had planted before and how it worked. So actually the seeds aren't too bad. We're at 92%. The fertilizer's the one that's at 64% now, but that is coming out quickly. But part of that is, I think, because barley's requiring so much nitrogen. So I'm going to go ahead, get this field planted, get 42 planted. My hope is, with the bigger planter like this, that I'll be able to pull all this off, maybe still today. If not, if it runs past midnight, that's okay. We're less concerned about everything falling on the right days and so forth here. It's really more about just getting a crop in the ground. But what we're setting ourselves up for here is a situation where we may be able to very quickly wrap this series up with a handful of episodes, because especially if I get enough extra barley that I can meet the flour needs, and I don't have to plant another set of fields. But if I do, because the flour from oats, for example, is more prolific, so I need 15 oats to create 19 liters of flour. To get 41,000 liters, I'm going to need less than 41,000 liters of oats. So I probably could just plant oats on these fields here, and that would be enough. I wouldn't have to do the large field. So all in all, it may still go quite quickly, because it's just going to become a bunch of deliveries, and if that's where we're at, we may just have a big delivery episode where we just plow through things, move the greenhouses through however many months, just keep you informed of what was happening to get enough, but just do a lot of quick shows of each order getting finished, and we could get through multi-levels at the end. Because after this crop, at most we probably have one other crop, and then we're just waiting for the greenhouses. So there's not a lot to show other than, as far as farm work that'll be going on. It's just going to become a lot of waiting to get through to the end there. And that's where it would be different if we were going into level 21, level 22. We can certainly talk and speculate about what that would look like based on what we see. But that would basically be what we'd be looking at doing. So the other piece, I did get some feedback from some folks that at least did comment and say they do want me to go through level 20, which is great, since that is what I was thinking I wanted to do anyway. But, you know, that is why I'm speaking the way I am now. Like, the decision's been made. It's been one or two commenters, but they have commented, and so 100% of the results are to go all the way through what the original plan for the series was. What I still don't have is what do we want to do in the next ones. So if people can take the time to do that and provide that answer, that would be great. But I am going to go ahead and get these things planted, and I'll be back when we're done. So just so you have an idea of how things are going, I don't yet have a full load of 18,000 liters of lettuce even, but the barley is ready for harvest. So that is what needs to happen today. So it is beginning to look as if, yes, at this point at the end, we're just going to be doing a lot of moving things through off camera months at a time, because basically we went from April to October and did nothing but advance time, because at this point I don't need to do anything else. I'm waiting for lettuce, and obviously the barley needs to get harvested. I could leave the barley here forever, because without seasons, that also creates a situation where the crop won't wither, it won't die. So I could go ahead and just wait, but there's no reason to do that, because it's just going to happen at one point in the series or not. So as I said, I'm really starting to feel much more like we're just going to have a handful of episodes here, and we're going to get ourselves to level 20 because we have everything already, other than a couple things. We just really have to see where this barley gets us, and then what we need to do, if anything, for flour. And I think that's the last work that's going to happen on the farm here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to let the harvester do its thing, and I'll just run the trailer as appropriate. So you can see he's coming up on that corner of the field. I don't think he's anywhere near full, but I'm just letting him go ahead and operate on the larger custom field that I created across all of these, and that should at least move things along as quickly as possible, and then I can go ahead and just get this to the silos. So just to remind you of what we're targeting, 152,000 liters of barley is what I will need to fulfill things at the end. If I can get more than that, hopefully substantially more than that, I will be in really good shape to then go ahead and work on that flour. But again, I'm going to need probably 50,000 more liters, so I'd need probably 200,000. Otherwise, I'm going to need to grow something else, which we'll have enough time to do, certainly. We're not going to have any issues there. It's just a question of what will we need and how much will we need. So I just want to get out of the way. But, you know, if I do this, I can just basically fill this every once in a while. I don't think that's the full amount it had. I think there's more in there than that 2,000 liters. But obviously, we've got to go ahead and let it do what it needs to do here in the corner. I think because it's trying to maneuver on the field, which is how I have everything set, I believe, for the most part, so that it can stay within tight confines. I think that's where we ran into some situation there, but I'll be able to come around as it goes down the field here. Well, I'm far enough. No, I guess it's okay. Because, yeah, there's a little bit, if you remember, because the field is custom drawn, and I planted the field, just letting course play do its thing. This is why we're not lining up and filling things in completely. So, I don't have crop destruction on, but I'm still, treating it as if I'm trying to, respect what we've got. I guess we'll see if we can just get a few, well, it was just literally a few hundred liters. So I'm probably better off just letting it go for a bit and maybe catching it on the tail end. So where it started was over in that corner. So it really hasn't gone that far. I have everything working on sharp edges with the harvester because it's easier for this to maneuver and do that. So that is why it's doing what it's doing, to hopefully collect as much as possible. Now, I just figured it would have gone at that point, so that is a little bit interesting. So, actually took 2 months to do the harvest because I finished the small set of fields nearby in October. And now I've gone ahead then and done field 42 here in November. This should stop here. If it doesn't, then I'm going to stop it as I did. Because if we go here, as you can see, we are completely empty and completely done. So I'm just going to run this down to the edge of the field. And so at this point, I believe this really should be all. I'm going to get this dropped on, but I'll leave it here for now. But if I look at the barley, I had about 42,000 already in there. So I got about 270,000 or so off of both of those fields, or both of those sets of fields. So I need 152,000, but that leaves 120,000 liters that I can turn into flour, for example. So that's more than enough. That means that at this point, I think we are done with every kind of work we need to do short of delivery. So you can see I've only got like 3 boxes, so only like 1,500 liters. I think that'll be enough to fill up the trailer, but not enough to get the lettuce done. But at this point, as we start to wrap up Riverview here, what we're going to do basically is finish up and kind of do deliveries for the most part for each level. There will be a little bit where obviously I need to take some of that barley over to start building flour. I'll do that in the next episode, but basically at this point, to finish this episode up, I just need to get the lettuce done, which is just going to be advancing time and running things over. So I am going to go ahead and work on that, and I'll be back when I'm finishing up the load and when we're getting finished here with level 17. So I'll see you in a bit. So it's about 1.5 years later. I'm taking my final load, but I'm doing an experiment here because we have lettuce on 2 back-to-back orders. So I'm going to block the road here, irritate this car. But you can see we've got about 5,000. It's 5,002, so I would have needed to bring 1 extra pallet. But then we've got 35,000 lettuce that we need to get to, because we're going to have the same type of thing where we're going to have tomatoes. So it's information I'll be able to use even in this series, let alone future ones. But what I'm hoping is, because this will finish, it's just immediately going to start filling the next level of lettuce orders, and I'll get a little bit ahead. Unfortunately, because I need, in essence, almost 2 full loads to fill the next level, I'm still going to have 2 trips here, if it works. So we had 35,000, so basically we should have had 5,000 off of one, which would leave me, what, 11,000 off of the next. So in theory, yeah, it looks like it may have done it, because basically it went from 35 to 22, so it did 12,000, yeah, 12,000 plus, and then, yeah, so kind of worked. I may have lost a little bit in the translation, but at this point, then, we've already filled, yeah, 12,117, where we really should have filled probably almost closer to 13, so I think we lost a few hundred liters. So it's not the best, but if I'm at the point where I could save myself 1 trip or something, maybe it's worth it. This will be a little hard to calculate, but 163,000 liters, we're going to be talking almost 10 trips in total, so it's going to be a little bit crazy, that's for sure. We are done with level 17. That is definitely going to be the end of this episode. Let's take a look. Wow. We wanted to see what the future orders would be. We have 7. I think this is the first time 7 have shown up. I've had 6, I think, in some earlier levels. But we would have 7 things we needed, none of which at this point are crops, where here at level 20 I still had barley. I mean, grass, I suppose, is a crop, but if you think about, we have a 35,000 liter forage wagon to pick that grass up, and then it would just be easiest to pick it up and then take it and transport it to the market, which is right here. Bipolar Profits livestock market is right where we're at. So we'd have to take probably 15 loads of grass down here to do this. We'd need another 15,000 liters of honey right after we finish that. At this point, I think we have enough honey, because we were almost at 13,000, and I think I progressed another year to get the lettuce done, so I'm pretty sure we've produced another 2,000 liters. So, you know, again, we might be on a good spot to do that. We need more flour. Furniture's going to require either some planks or some wood, plus we need wood, plus we need milk, plus we need a crazy huge amount of wool. We had, I think, 25,000 liters of wool before, in the order that took us quite a bit. So, yes, going beyond level 20, at least with our first view into that world, that is a leap. That would take a lot of time. You know, I suppose it would be a lot of potential content. It would allow many, many episodes, as you basically probably would just, at best, work on one thing per episode and just talk about it for 20 or 30 minutes and maybe do that. But at that point, you're looking at 7 weeks of episodes if you truly did one a week, you know, one a episode. It would take you 7 episodes, so it's definitely, at first blush, looking like stopping at 20 is more than enough. Now, what I'm going to try, I think, so that you're prepared, I think it seems to make sense to try to just finish and wrap the series in one more episode of whatever length that may be. I really probably just need to show up and say, hey, I'm delivering this. Hey, I'm finishing this. I'm finishing that. And I could probably make it relatively short. I could certainly make it a reasonable length episode. And that's likely what I'll be doing, but the amount of time in the background to do all that, to just cart everything around and so forth, is certainly not going to be insubstantial. I've got the harvester parked down there from the barley harvest, because at this point, we're wrapping up what we're doing here. We're now over 4 million pounds, approaching 4.2 million. Now, we were really kind of just treading water as we were growing that lettuce. Now, the tomatoes, I think, are the midpoint. I think tomatoes are 1-to-1, where lettuce required 2 things of water for one lettuce and just kind of had a slower growth cycle. So I'm thinking the tomatoes won't take, at this point, I think to do this 41,000 liters of lettuce took me the better part of 3, maybe even 4 years. That's a long time that I passed here. But, you know, and I've got 23,000, so I still, like I said, I still need to make a trip. I'm not going to go ahead, because I was debating, I'm like, well, I could throw tomatoes on there, like, and still come with a full load, but I think I'll just lose some at that point, and I don't know that it makes any sense to do so. Because especially if I think about it, if I have 5... Now, 5 is too much, so I was going to say, if I have 5 loads, that'll get me 80, but that actually gets me 90,000, because at 18,000 a piece, basically, I am losing 2,000 liters per off of 20,000 liters, so at 5 loads, I'd be 10,000 liters less, 90,000. So I only need 8,000 on the last one, and I'll probably just split them up and so forth, because it's not as if you can't hit the production pretty much on and do that, and that'll make sense. But the reason I'm thinking just wrap it up is there's literally nothing else to do on this farm other than deliver things that I have. I mean, I'm going to have to get flour over to the flour mill, so that'll be the first thing I do next time, just so that we're not waiting, but we just have to produce the 41,000 liters of flour, and then we'll be good. But lettuce takes a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if I run flour over, and by the time the lettuce is produced, that all the flour I need is already well beyond being produced. You know, the biggest challenge I'm going to have is somehow, do I feel like I'm running tight on the barley? But I think I'm going to have plenty. I've got to run the numbers to do that, but I'm going to get myself prepared for that as the start of March here, because we just happen to have enough lettuce to be able to run that full cart over this morning. But there's no point in advancing another day into the next episode. We'll just end up starting here. So I'll just get myself up here, and next episode we'll pick up right here. Wait a minute. I don't understand. I thought I had the... Okay, well, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work, but in any event, level 17 is done. We can now see past the end of our life here on Riverview. Any input you have, you know, give it to me. I will take it, or take it into consideration for sure as early as I can. But really, if I end up wrapping in one more episode, you know, I may just power through that. And so there may be the first episode of wherever I'm moving to, I may already start. And so some of those starting decisions and so forth kind of will have been made. And, you know, there may be things that we can't do. I'm still slightly worried I don't have enough straw. That would really screw things up if I'm like short a tiny bit. That would be really sad. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful I have enough, because again, I think, you know, those are 11,000 liters a bale, and I think we've certainly got 40 of them. So I think we're good. I used a few to get the slurry where we needed. And as I said, those type of deliveries, those things are going to take a long time. So there's going to be a lot of off-camera work next time. Probably the most in any single episode ever in the history of the channel. But we'll talk about that then. So I'll see you next time.